The thing you're holding on to the tightest right now could be the very thing that's destroying you. Let me ask you something. Does your job feel less stable than it did 2 years ago? Has your company started using AI to handle work that used to belong to a human? Have you noticed colleagues quietly disappearing? Not fired with a big announcement, just not replaced? If a quiet unease has started rising inside you, good. That feeling is trying to tell you something important. Today, we're talking about a book that was published in 1998, has sold over 30 million copies worldwide, and is so simple, it reads like a children's story. And yet, every few years, it becomes a bestseller again, because every generation produces a new wave of people living out its story without realizing it. This is Spencer Johnson's Who Moved My Cheese. And we're not here to tell you to embrace change. That's not the point. We're here to ask you a far more uncomfortable question. Is it possible that right now, today, you are the person standing in an empty room screaming that it isn't fair? We are ReadSmart Financial Freedom Channel. The cheese is never just cheese. The story takes place inside a maze. 4 characters live there, 2 mice, Sniff and Scurry, 2 little people, Hem and Haw. Every day, all 4 of them move through the maze looking for cheese. But this cheese isn't food. Spencer Johnson uses cheese to represent everything you believe will make you happy, safe, and secure. Your job title, your income, your relationship, your lifestyle, your company's market position. The reason you get out of bed in the morning. One day, all 4 characters discover a massive cheese station, Station C. It's overflowing with the most abundant, richest cheese they've ever seen. They are overjoyed. But from that moment on, the 4 characters begin to move in very different directions. The mice had a habit nobody noticed. Sniff and Scurry show up at Station C every morning. Their behavior is simple. No strategy sessions, no spreadsheets, no long meetings about optimizing their cheese intake. But they have one habit that Hem and Haw never develop. Every day, they check whether the cheese is changing. Is the color slightly different? Does the smell seem a little off? Are the edges beginning to shrink? They don't analyze it. They just notice it. And because they notice it every single day, they are never surprised when things shift. Their running shoes are always tied. They are always quietly ready to move. Then one day, they arrive at Station C and find it completely empty. They pause. They look around, and then they turn and walk deeper into the maze to find a new cheese station. No anger, no grief, no accusations. They had watched the cheese disappear slowly, day by day. They had been ready for this moment for a long time. Spencer Johnson isn't saying these mice are smarter. He's saying their readiness was built through daily attention, not through crisis-driven analysis. Hem's story is the real heart of this book. When Hem and Haw find Station C, they do something that seems completely rational at the time. They move their homes closer to the cheese station. They build their social lives around it. They make Station C the centerpiece of their identity. They begin to believe the cheese belongs to them, that they have earned it, that it will always be there. They even construct a perfectly logical argument. We've worked hard in this maze. We know how things work here. We deserve this cheese. Sound familiar? In the real world, Hem and Haw are everywhere. The 20-year veteran of traditional media, who insists digital is a passing trend. The accountant of 15 years, who believes AI could never replace work that requires human judgment. The employee who has been at the same company for 8 years and thinks loyalty is an insurance policy. The person in a relationship that stopped growing years ago, but who can't walk away because of everything already invested. Spencer Johnson puts a name to this pattern, and behavioral economists have studied it extensively. It's called the sunk cost fallacy. The more time, money, and emotion you have invested in something, the harder it becomes to walk away from it, even when the evidence is telling you to go. Because leaving means admitting that your past decisions may have been wrong, and humans are not built to do that easily. The day the cheese vanished, Then one morning, Hem and Haw return to Station C. It's empty, completely bare. Sniff and Scurry are long gone, already somewhere deeper in the maze. Hem's response? He stands in the empty room and starts shouting, "Who moved my cheese? This is not fair. Bring it back." He is furious. He looks for someone to blame. He refuses to accept what is in front of him. He becomes convinced that if he waits long enough, the cheese will return. He builds elaborate reasoning for why it should still be there, why the laws of the maze owe him this. Haw, at first, goes along with it. But a quiet voice inside him grows louder over time. What if I went in a different direction? What if there's new cheese somewhere I haven't looked? But even thinking this thought fills Haw with dread. Because leaving means accepting that Station C is finished. It means abandoning everything he built around it. It means starting again in the dark. Change doesn't frighten us because the future is bad. It frightens us because accepting that we need to change means accepting that our past judgment was flawed. For anyone with a shred of self-respect, that is deeply uncomfortable. Haw's transformation, the writing on the wall. Haw's decision to finally leave isn't a sudden revelation. Spencer Johnson describes it with great care. It doesn't happen overnight. It happens through repeated internal struggle until Haw arrives at one quiet realization. Staying is more dangerous than moving. Staying guarantees starvation. Moving forward at least offers a chance. So he picks up a stone and writes on the wall, a message for Hem and for himself. If you do not change, you can become extinct. And then he walks into the maze. At first it's hard. He finds small scraps of cheese, nothing like the abundance of Station C. But these small finds are enough to sustain him. And with each step, something else begins to shift. He stops thinking of the search as punishment. He begins to experience it as exploration. He realizes the maze was never a prison. It was always full of possibility. The walls were never there to keep him in. They were the structure through which all opportunities are hidden. And Hem? Hem is still standing in the empty room, waiting for cheese that will never come back. Our maze is more complex than any previous generation has faced. Spencer Johnson wrote this book in 1998. The change he was responding to was corporate downsizing and merger waves. The maze we are navigating today moves at a different speed entirely. According to the McKinsey Global Institute, a significant share of global work activities, affecting hundreds of millions of jobs, could be automated by existing or near-term technology. And the jobs most at risk are not, as many assumed, low-skill manual labor. They are the white-collar professional roles that the middle class has long considered the safest: legal document review, financial analysis, content production, data processing, customer support. AI is not slowly nibbling at your cheese. AI is restructuring which maze corridors exist at all. Has your company started using AI to handle tasks that used to require a person? Have you noticed that when someone in your team leaves, the position quietly disappears rather than being filled? Have you had a moment in the middle of an ordinary Tuesday afternoon where you suddenly felt a low, persistent anxiety? Not because anything specific went wrong, but because something in you suspects that the skills you are selling today may not be worth buying in a few years. If so, that feeling is not irrational anxiety. That is your inner sniff, noticing that the cheese has started to smell different. The most dangerous thing is not change. It's the story you tell about it. Psychologist Carol Dweck, in her landmark work Mindset, argues that the greatest limitations people face are not limitations of capability. They are limitations of belief about capability. Hem's problem was never that he lacked the physical ability to walk into the maze. He was perfectly capable of it. Hem's problem was the narrative he had constructed inside his own head. I've put in the years. I deserve this cheese. Someone else is at fault here. This isn't my problem. If I wait long enough, everything will return to normal. These aren't lies exactly. They serve a genuine psychological function. They protect him from having to face a reality that would require him to change his self-image. But here's the cost of those protective stories. They disguise waiting as loyalty. They disguise avoidance as principle. They disguise fear as wisdom. We do this too. I'm waiting for the right moment. Or are you waiting for a perfect excuse that will never arrive? I'm maintaining stability. Or are you avoiding a transition that makes you uncomfortable? I'm reasonably satisfied with where I am. Or have you simply stopped paying attention to how much you've stopped growing? This book's greatest contribution isn't the advice to change. It's the mirror it holds up to the stories we use to keep ourselves standing still. What Sniff and Scurry are really teaching us. There's a temptation to read this book and conclude that Sniff and Scurry's instinct-driven, analysis-free approach is the ideal. Act fast, don't overthink, just move. But I don't think that's what Spencer Johnson is saying. The mice weren't advocates of impulsive action. Their speed on the day the cheese disappeared was only possible because of what they had been doing every single day before that moment, paying attention. Their rapid response wasn't reactive. It was the compounded result of sustained, daily awareness. Which means, if you currently have no real-time sense of how your industry is changing, what skills are gaining or losing value, and what problems the market is willing to pay to solve, you will never be able to move like Sniff and Scurry when your moment comes. You will be Hem, frozen by surprise in an empty room. Awareness is the prerequisite for action, not anxiety, not analysis paralysis. Consistent, active, curious attention. Are you reading about where your industry is heading? Are you asking yourself what you would offer the world if your current role disappeared tomorrow? Are you updating your skill set regularly or only when crisis forces you to? These aren't anxious questions. They're your running shoes. What Ha wrote on the wall and why it still matters. There's a scene in the book I return to every time I reread it. As Ha moves through the maze, he writes short phrases on the walls as he goes, messages for Hem, should he ever decide to follow, and reminders for himself. One of them reads, "When you move beyond your fear, you feel free." This is not motivational poster copy. This is the observation of a person who walked into genuine darkness and discovered, one step at a time, that the fear was always larger than the reality it was guarding. Most of us don't struggle with external obstacles to change. We struggle with the weight of our own hesitation, the fear of making the wrong choice, of losing face, of admitting we misjudged something, of becoming a beginner again in a new place. What Ha learns, and what this book is ultimately about, is that the longer you defer change, the more monstrous the fear of it becomes. And the more you move toward it, even awkwardly, even uncertainly, the smaller it gets. You don't think your way out of the empty room. You walk your way out. 3 questions. This book is really asking you. The first question, where is your station C? Not so you can abandon it immediately, but so you can see it clearly. What are you currently depending on for security, income, identity, or meaning? Is it growing, or is it slowly contracting? When did you last notice whether the cheese was still fresh? The second question, are you Hem or are you Ha? Are you waiting for conditions to be perfect before you start moving, or are you already in motion? Imperfectly, uncertainly, but forward. Neither answer is a moral judgment, but you have to be honest about which one describes you right now, because if you are Hem, the most useful thing you can do is not berate yourself. It's to allow yourself to take one single step out of the room. Just one. The third question, in which direction is your new cheese? No one can answer this for you, but here is what the book teaches us. The answer will never be found in the waiting. It only reveals itself through movement. Who Moved My Cheese was published nearly 30 years ago. It keeps coming back into print, not because its ideas are revolutionary, but because every generation discovers, usually under pressure, that the maze has changed shape again, and that human beings respond to that change in ways that are astonishingly consistent across time. Hem's voice lives in all of us. Wait a little longer. I've invested too much to stop now. This time is different, but the book's central truth remains. The cheese has always been moving. This is not a threat. It is the nature of the maze. The real question was never, who moved my cheese? The real question is, when the day comes that your cheese is gone, will you be ready? Now, we want to hear from you. After watching this video, leave a comment and tell us, do you think you're more like Hem right now or more like Ha? And if you have someone in your life who is clearly waiting in an empty room, what do you say to them? We read every comment. Share your story below. We are ReadSmart Financial Freedom Channel. We'll see you next time.